Alright, what's up everyone? Craig here with Weeping Willow Guitar Lessons, and in this video we're going to take a look at Bob Weir's rhythm guitar work on Jack Straw. Jack Straw was written by Bob Weir and Robert Hunter and first performed by the Grateful Dead on October 19, 1971. For that performance and about 5 other performances, Bob Weir sang the entirety of the lyrics, but then beginning in the middle of the Europe 72 tour, I believe on May 3rd, 1972, Garcia stepped in and started to sing the other character, and that's the arrangement that remained. Alright, so Bob Weir's rhythm guitar part also evolved, and we're going to take a look at that evolution during this lesson. When the Dead first began performing Jack Straw, and for the first couple of years, Bob Weir started by just strumming between an E and an E sus4. So we have something like this. Alright, so we have a typical Bob Weir voicing, which puts our middle finger on the 7th fret of the 5th string, our index finger on the 6th fret of the 4th string, and our pinky on the 9th fret of the 3rd string. So that gives us a root, major 3rd, then a root. Alright, Bob would also sometimes let those top 2 strings ring out, which gives us another 5th and another root. And then he would also sometimes play the low E. So we could go between a 3-note voicing or a 6-note full 6-string voicing. So for the E sus4, we replace the 6th fret of the 4th string with the 7th fret of the 4th string. So our G sharp with an A, or our major 3rd with a 4th. Alright, so what it looks like Bob would often do is he would take the middle finger from the 5th string and move it up to the 4th string. If you wanted to leave that note on the 7th fret of the 5th string, you could choose to either take your index finger on the 4th string and move that up a fret, or you could flip-flop your 2 fingers. So you'd have the index finger on the 5th string, middle finger on the 4th string. Which is ever more comfortable. So you could play it any one of these ways. Alright, the choice is yours. I prefer moving that middle finger up to the 4th string because I like being able to hammer on sometimes. Alright, and then later the song would begin with a line that both Jerry and Bob would play. It was a harmonized line. Bob's line was the lower of the two, and here's one example line he would play. So most of the time, that's kind of what Bob Weir would play. And you can hear examples like 10/22/1978, or if you see a more recent one where Bob Weir's playing solo at the Sundance Film Festival, you can find that on YouTube. You'll hear that line. While Jerry plays so we start on the 9th fret of the 4th string, then 7th fret, 6th fret all on the 4th string, and then the 9th fret on the 5th string. Then we have 6, 7 on the 4th, 9 on the 5th, 6 on the 4th, then we land on 7 on the 5th. All right, another variation though comes from 8/19/89, and you can find this on YouTube. This is that Bob Weir isolated guitar track. So it's just his feed. There's some bleed over, but it's mostly just his feed, so you can really hear what he's playing. And he plays. So we have 9, 7, 6 on the 4th string, 9 on the 5th, then 6, 7, 9 on the 4th. Then there's kind of a ghosted open A, and then we land on the 7th fret of the 5th string. Alright, and then an interesting variation comes from 6/23/74, and it sounds like this. So we have 9, pull off 8 on the 3rd string, 9 on the 4th, 8, pull off 7 on the 4th string, 9, slide up to 11 on the 5th, 9th fret on the 4th, then we land on the 7th fret of the 5th string. Alright, so you can play any one of those variations or make up your own. And then, so while he would play that, Jerry would play. Then we come in on our E to E sus4. And then the amount of times he would play that, again, always varies. It could be just 2 times, it could be 3 times, it could be a bunch of times. Alright, and here's the verse. Alright, so we start with our E, then we go to F sharp minor, and if this voicing is new to you, you can think of like a D minor chord, and then this F on the 1st string would be doubled, so it'd be on the 4th string as well. And we take that and move it up so our 1st finger is on the 5th fret of the 1st string, and our root is on the 2nd string, so that's our F sharp. And the strumming during the verse is just very sparse. Then we have a C sharp minor. And then we have an A. And sometimes Bob would hammer on, so from the 5th fret of the 3rd string to the 6th fret, so our minor to major 3rd. Back to E, then we have B minor to D. So our B minor is right here in 7th position. Then our D is right here out of the G cade shape. So we have our root, major 3rd, 5th, root, major 3rd. which is ever easier, to A, then we have E. So for this E, you could either play the same voicing we've been using, or you can play an E5. And again, so we have the 7th fret of the 5th, 9th frets of the 4th and 3rds, and then you can also have the open top 2 strings, but you don't have to. Then we go to G sharp minor. Again, you can either play it with your thumb in the bass or as a bar. Then D to A. Alright, so in the earlier years, he would play the A and then maybe add a sus. Later on, he would do this little riff where it's the 6th fret of the 3rd string, you bend up a half step, release, and then play the 7th fret of the 4th string. And then you could add the sus again if you wanted to. Alright, then we repeat some of that. We have E, F sharp minor, C sharp minor, A, E, B minor, D, A. But this time, then we go to E. Again, it could be this E or this E. Then we play a B major, A, and then our E to E sus. So it sounds like this. If we put the whole verse together, we get this. Alright, then we alternate between an E7 sus4 and an E7. So for the E7 sus4, we have the 7th frets of the 5th, 4th, and 3rd strings barred with our index. Then we move to our E7, which is 7th fret on the 5th, 6th fret on the 4th, and then the 7th fret on the 3rd. And we modulate up a whole step. So this part, the E7 sus4 to E7 is where Jerry was singing. Then we modulate up a whole step, and this is where Bob sings. So it's an F sharp 7 sus4 to F sharp 7. Alright, so before we leave that, you can either just strum it like that, sometimes on the E7 sus4 to E7, He would then hammer on that sus. Later on, like late 80s, for example, 1989, you would hear him play with the whammy bar, and you would get something like this. Alright, so for the E7 sus4 to E7, you can break it up. Then with the bar, just give it a little. Alright, so after the F sharp 7 sus4 to F sharp 7, so we do that 3 times. Alright, so the 4th time we just play that measure of F sharp 7 sus4, and then we have so this is the interlude slash solo. So where Jerry solos, we have this progression, which is D to B minor, A, E, E sus4. Alright, so later on, again, check out 1989. Instead of playing this voicing for the E, he would play this E5 voicing and bring in the whammy bar. So we have Alright, so then when the singing would come back in, we would continue to do this chord progression. We go through it a total of 3 times, and then the 4th time we have E just for 1 bar, then A, D, G, D, G, then we go back to E. Alright, so that last time through sounds like this. Alright, so after we land on that last G, Bob would play this descending palm muted line. We have quarter note triplets, and it mirrors what the rest of the band does. Bob did this most of the time. Like, I think for the very first few or first year or whatever of Jack Straw, you might not have heard that. You might have just heard from the G to the E. But then you definitely get that palm muted part in. And again, if you listen to the 1989 version where you have that isolated Bob Weir feed, you can really hear that. Then we do, just like the intro, E to E sus4 twice. Then we go back into our verse. Alright, so after the second verse, we have a longer guitar solo. So you just keep playing that chord progression, then the singing comes back in, then again 3 full times through that. The 4th time we have our Alright, and then we end with so we play our first 4 chords of the verse, E, F sharp minor, C sharp minor to A, and we end on that A. Alright, and that's Jack Straw. Be sure to check out the backing track I put together for this one. And again, have fun. I will see you next time.